come at last. At last, it's come. The day I knew would come at last has come. At last. I'm gonna have to apologize. I'm gonna make you a little bit seasick here, but I have something I have to show you. Hang on. Today I started the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, and that brings me to the very first person to sign my inspirational poster, Sylvester McCoy. All right, I'm back up here where you're not seasick anymore. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. I had that poster made, 4 years ago, a little more than, when I first started this ridiculous project. And Sylvester McCoy was one of the very first people to actually sign it. He was at a local comic shop several years ago, along with a couple other minor co-stars that I'll get to as we move along. But Sylvester McCoy was the first Doctor to sign my inspirational poster, and he was just the nicest guy in the world. I can't say enough nice things about Sylvester McCoy. My one big regret was that when I met him, when he signed the poster, I had not yet gotten to his era of the show, and my impression of the 7th Doctor back then, having never really watched any of the stories, was that it was the last gasp of a dying program and that they were all terrible stories, and I could not be more wrong. I will grant you that Time on the Rani is a terrible story, and the less said about it, the better. But the rest of his run is so spectacularly good, and he rocketed to near the top of my list of favorite Doctors and favorite actors in the role. He was just a genuinely nice guy, and his stories are amazingly entertaining, and I am so psyched for the next 3 weeks or so to be rewatching all of these. Now, having begun the 7th Doctor era, that means I need to talk about the unceremonious way that Colin Baker was kicked off the program. It's no great mystery that the 6th Doctor, conversely, is my least favorite of all of the Doctors, and that's not a knock against Colin Baker. He seems like a really great person, and he's certainly been a fine ambassador for the show over the decades. But his stories are easily my least favorite of the entire run of the show. Getting through those couple of seasons has been a real slog. The last month or two, or however long it's been, it feels like a year since I've been on the 5th Doctor. And that's not his fault. It's all of the machinations behind the scenes. It was him being stuck with an 18-year hiatus in the middle, then being brought back for a subpar season-spanning story. And then when all of that ended, he left thinking he was going to come back for another season and be the Doctor again going forward. When he was hired, he intended to have a run as long as Tom Baker's. He was all in on the character. The BBC, however, did not agree. They blamed him for all of the problems with the show and the drop in viewership, and so the BBC decided to dump him and bring in a new Doctor. The good news of that is they brought in Sylvester McCoy. I love Sylvester McCoy dearly. The bad news is the way they did it was just really crappy. And at the time, they offered Colin Baker the chance to come back and film one more 4-part story that would end in his regeneration. He countered by saying he would be willing to come back for a new complete season that would end in his regeneration. And the BBC said no thank you, so he said no thank you, and he walked away from the show. That means that Time on the Rani opens with the TARDIS being attacked by the Rani, and the Doctor has already been knocked to the floor unconscious with his back to the camera. And that's because the 6th Doctor in the opening sequence is played by Sylvester McCoy in a terrible wig, and it is the most unexciting, uninspiring, terrible regeneration in the history of the show. In later years, Colin Baker has said he regrets not coming back to film one more story, and I get that, and a part of me kind of wishes he had so that we would have gotten a proper regeneration. But a part of me doesn't blame him at all. As little as I liked his era of the story, he was completely screwed over by the BBC, and he had every right to just walk away, and more power to him. I have not had the good fortune to actually meet Colin Baker in person. I hope that once this stupid pandemic is over and the world opens up again, that I will have the good fortune to add his signature to my inspiration poster. But until then, today's appearance of the 7th Doctor makes me very, very happy. I'll see you tomorrow.